Do you live in constant fear of the liberal agenda? Do you believe that George Soros is going to put cocaine in your children's cereal? Is the idea of a brown person making enough money to take care of their family on a minimum wage really bad and scary and not good for you? MAGA can help. MAGA is a special blend of regressive ideologies, fundamental untruths about modern society, and rhetorical language that shrinks your brain and replaces the empty space with sawdust and Hershey's Kiss wrappers. It's like the autopilot for thoughts and ideas. It's time to take back your ability to turn your brain off and let MAGA do the thinking for you. Ask your doctor or pastor if MAGA is right for you. Side effects include dry ass P-word, bone-itis, every disease at once, blind obedience, diarrhea, calling yourself a fiscal conservative, explosive diarrhea, fast food employee rage, very explosive diarrhea, small penis, racism, reverse racism, urination, reverse urination, increased Facebook usage, penile shrinkage, loss of taste or smell, except for Olive Garden. Cults have been a cultural phenomenon as long as people have been gathering in groups, from Charles Manson and his family to Jim Jones and the People's Temple. Though many cults may appear and function differently, they all have one central feature: a leader. A leader who presents as charismatic, handsome, and intelligent. You know, like Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump.
You know, like Donald Trump.
Okay, bear with me for a moment. When a leader of a government rises up in a similar way that a leader of a religious cult does, it's known as a cult of personality. In other words, the cult following exists around the person, not necessarily the message. There are a variety of ways in which this phenomena occurs. Almost as many ways as there are genders. Sorry, Ben Shapiro. A cult of personality is born out of a desire to transform a system that is portrayed as corrupt and destructive to traditional values. Tactics such as mass media, propaganda, patriotism, and government demonstrations are often used to create and maintain a cult of personality, while also promoting the idea that the leader is a hero, a being worthy of unquestioning praise and admiration for taking on that system. Donald Trump often employs fear tactics to demonstrate how the left in America is the cause of government corruption and American cultural destruction. A cult of personality doesn't rise to power alone. They rely heavily on the media's portrayal of them. And this doesn't have to be a positive reflection. For example, by focusing on the hateful and insensitive comments of Donald Trump during the 2016 general election, the media inadvertently promoted the idea that Donald Trump is just your average, everyday American. You know, an asshole. The media in our country, despite what some might have you believe, has not always been so harsh on Donald Trump. Fox News has consistently played the part of the apologist when it comes to Trump's behavior. They have created the image of him as outside of the system, a non-politician. And Donald Trump eagerly took on this role. He was the savior of Americans from the evil swamp people in Washington. It's hideous! But the truth is that Donald Trump can't drain the swamp when he was the one that paid to have it filled. Similar to media portrayal and the creation and maintenance of a cult of personality is propaganda. Propaganda is a tool of deception used to influence a mass amount of people and promote a specific agenda. Often, news media are the ones distributing propaganda, but this doesn't always have to be the case. People don't disseminate false information to further personal agenda on the porch with their meemaws no more. These days, anyone can participate in the American pastime of disseminating false information to further a personal agenda. Occasionally, a leader will distribute the propaganda themselves. In early April of 2020, Donald Trump held a White House press briefing with the intent to update the public about the state of the COVID-19 pandemic. What it turned out to be was the self-fellatio of an incompetent, narcissistic, fat dumb. In all seriousness, what Donald Trump effectively did was use taxpayer dollars to create and distribute a propaganda film that was meant to downplay the severity of the virus and upplay the Trump administration's response. This is a blatant attempt to influence public perception, a move on Trump's part most likely in preparation for the November 2020 election. And we all know how that went. Wasn't good. Was not good at all. It's really, really bad. It's really bad. Patriotism, a value every God-fearing American holds, and one that a cult of personality is likely to use to prey on those same Americans. With a cult of personality in charge, patriotism turns from an individual freedom to a group mandate. No longer do we have the choice to participate in American patriotism because those who don't are seen as the
weak, radical, do nothing,
corrupt,
liberal,
Antifa,
Democrats.
And let's not forget Trump's re-education camps. I mean, patriotic education trumps patriotic education. Let's face it, Donald Trump's patriotic rhetoric has been used by history's most famous authoritarians, and even current ones. Donald Trump is weaponizing the natural connection we as Americans have for our own communities. He is poisoning the idea of what it means to be a genuine patriot. Let me rephrase that for you. A current sitting president has divided the country into two groups. The true Americans, loyal, obedient, bootlicker.
Yeah, girl.
And the state's enemy, skeptical, disapproving, rational. And what could be more patriotic than a military parade? No, not that one. No, not that one either. Yeah, that's the one. Trump's military parade was his best attempt at peacocking to the American public and the world. A chance for him to boost his ego off the backs of those who have served this country and on the dime of the American taxpayer. Donald Trump's admiration for the United States Armed Forces doesn't come from a place of gratitude and respect, but from a place of greed and self-glorification. If the media refuses to show the world how amazeballs Donald Trump is, then Donald Trump will just have to show the world his balls. Then Donald Trump will just have to show the world for them. Now, I'm not here to make any stark accusations. In fact, why am I here? Instead, I'm here to present some similarities that I find all too disturbing between Donald Trump and the authoritarians of the past and present. At the very least, Donald Trump's rhetoric has permeated throughout American culture, pushing Americans further apart than we ever have been. Donald Trump paid his way to the presidency, employed authoritarian tactics in an attempt to keep it, and then lost to Joe Biden. I mean, who loses to Joe Biden? Donald Trump won't go down in history as the working class's president. He'll go down in history as a fucking embarrassment. Thank you for watching. My sources are always in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to see more. I'll see you next time.